me to live and breathe like a man.
You've heard his words on classic albums like Pacific Ocean Blue and Friends. His 1969 collaboration with Brian Wilson, A World of Peace Must Come, gained almost legendary status as one of pop's most storied lost albums, before being resurrected to great acclaim by Light in the Attic in 2008. Now you're cordially invited to take a trip into the mind of poet and songwriter Stephen J. Kalinich. Heyday Again Records presents I Love My Life, a postcard from one of the last standing poets of peace and excitation. Order your copy today. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich and Friends. You'll see why heavy hitters like Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Paul McCartney, Steve Cropper, P.F. Sloan, and Diana Ross have all worked with him. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich. Order today at realgonemusic.com. Again, that's realgonemusic.com. Let's talk about Technical Ecstasy. Is there anything good about this record?
There's two songs, I think, that came out of it that I can play.
I think the fire is noticeably dampened.
Totally.
It's no less
It's a candle now when it used to be a fire pit.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Also, there's that cover, which is pretty inexplicable. Ozzy once described it as two robots screwing on an escalator.
Yeah.
It's a weird album.
That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah. Welcome to Discograffiti, the Music Obsessives podcast that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with the brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebrow, and with 4 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Black Sabbath, along with our special guest, JACKASS'S Wee Man. Here are just a few of the many things Wee Man and I discuss in part 3 of this podcast. The Sabbath song that single-handedly created thrash metal, the 2 songs on Sabotage that Ozzy felt were distractions on an otherwise perfect album, the many bad ideas behind Black Sabbath recording in Miami, the telling t-shirt that Ozzy had made during the recording of Technical Ecstasy, the weird several months after Ozzy split and Sabbath replaced him with ex-Fleetwood Mac vocalist Dave Walker, the outright insanity of the Never Say Die sessions, and an in-depth deep dive on every song off Sabotage, Technical Ecstasy, Never Say Die, and 13. If you're a Black Sabbath and Jackass superfan like me, you'll want to turn this free version off right now and opt for the director's cut of this episode on our Patreon page, which is ad-free and features a plethora of additional essential material. And you can find it in our Patreon shop for mere pennies at patreon.com/discograffiti/shop. Here's what you're missing this week if you're not a Patreon member. If you're a member at the private tier, you're missing out on the director's cut of part 5 of our Pet Sounds deep dive, plus our exclusive interview with Wrecking Crew pianist Don Randy. If you're a member at the lieutenant tier, you're missing out on the Don Randy interview. And if you're a member at the major tier, well, you're not missing a single thing, because the major tier gives you access to everything that Discograffiti releases. Coming up, we've got Discograffiti's Billy Joel series with special guest Mark Robinson from Unrest, our Jefferson Airplane series featuring band members Jorma Kaukonen and Jack Cassidy, an exclusive interview with ex-Pixies bassist Paz Linchanton on her upcoming solo album, an interview with Lenny Waronker, Season 3 of The Beach Boys, and Your Dream Comes True series, which will absolutely, without question, delve deeper into Pet Sounds than anyone else ever has in history. Plus, an incredibly special Graham Nash deep dive, in which Graham himself rates and discusses everything he's ever released. That means solo, CSN, CSNY, C and N, and for good measure, Crosby's If I Can Only Remember My Name. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then. So they started their 6th album in February 75, again in England at Morgan Studios in Willesden, this time with a decisive vision to differ the sound from Sabbath Bloody Sabbath.
Yes.
So Sabotage. Really, if you don't look at 13, it's their last great record. It may not be perfect, but it's great.
Yep.
It's their first release not to go platinum. It went gold in the US, and it took the band to 1997 to go gold with this record. So the title Sabotage was chosen because the band were at the time being sued by their former management and felt they were being sabotaged all the way along the line and getting punched from all sides. Tony says it was probably the only album ever made with lawyers in the studio.
That's pretty crazy.
I love that quote. You know, Tony credits those legal troubles for the album's angry, heavier sound. Again, the silver lining. And then that album cover. What do you think about the album cover? I kind of like it, but it's kind of a Spinal Tap sort of thing.
It totally is, because it's so funny that they're on the front looking, forward, and then it's the back, and it's like they're looking in a mirror, whatever, in the front, and then you're like, oh, it's their butts on the back, It's like, all right.
Yeah.
Which, being kind of Spinal Tappy, is a good reference to it.
Track 1, Hole in the Sky.
I love it. It's a good song.
There's a sleazy chug to it.
Yeah.
I really think is terrific.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a perfect opener, I think. And it's a metal song about pollution.
Hole in the Sky.
Don't start too late.
Don't start too late.
It was actually named for the tape operator, his name was David Harris. He would often tell them, don't start, too late, because he was never ready for them. So that's where that comes from. But again, just texture, although I do really like it. Symptom of the Universe, though, is something whole.
I love Symptom of the Universe.
Talk to me about that one, because this song alone probably gave birth to a whole subgenre by itself.
Of course it did. It's a single itself. That's what the title should have been, is Symptom of the Universe. I love it. It's a good song. It's one of those ones, just like any of the others, that once it's playing, you feel it, and it just has a good vibe.
I could be wrong. I don't think I am, though. I believe that the main riff to this song is the beginning to thrash metal. I believe that thrash metal is Symptom of the Universe.
Yeah,
I don't think that style of riff had ever been done before. Just like metal had never been done.
Yeah.
Thrash hadn't been done till 75, I think.
That makes sense.
So
that makes total sense. Yeah. They started
song.
System of the Universe.
Yeah.
Opened up the thrash metal universe.
Yeah. And also, Ozzy's vocal on this, that evil, taunting playground sneer.
Yep.
Really worth mentioning, because he destroys this song. Mm-hmm. And then, there's a sick solo, like completely off the charts. It sounds like it's actually coming out of the speakers, and then it melts into a blues breakdown.
Totally.
It kind of sounds like it's a nod to the second side of their debut album, and then on and on into a cyclical, almost acoustic. You may not know who John Fahey is, but he's this pioneer of acoustic guitar who would play these really long acoustic passages, and it almost sounds like it treads into that territory. And that actually was evolved from an in-studio jam, and it was spontaneously created in one day. Symptom of the Universe, one of their most ambitious tunes, and possibly my favorite Sabbath tune that has that kind of ambition. Like those things that could be ear sores in other songs, like Who Are You?
Yep.
It's ingested into the fabric of what they do best.
I can see that.
I love this song.
Yeah.
Megalomania. Talk to me.
That's one of my favorites. I love it. It's long. It's good. You don't get irritated by it. It starts off slow, and it just keeps going and going and going, and you're hooked. And I just love it. The whole riff's everything.
Yeah. And it's a song about the whole lawyer shit that was going on behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah. You can tell.
Yeah. So is The Writ. Those two are both born from that. But it actually has a spookiness.
Exact. Yeah.
Almost like a haunted house kind of a vibe. Like something that you would play at a carnival in a haunted house. Aside from the last song on their first record, it's their longest song at 9:45, just short of the 10-minute mark. And then the interjections that always takes me out of whatever I'm doing, the suck me and sting me, which is a little weirder. I always did like that, though.
And that makes more sense now that you say it was during the lawyer stuff. It's because like lawyers are just like leeches, just sucking everything out of you and stinging you and everything. Yeah, exactly. So now it makes even more sense.
Yeah. And then that kind of blooming cloud of mellotron.
Yeah.
Almost at the end of the song, when it's like a couple minutes toward the end, it sounds pretty goddamn melodramatic, the way that it rises up the tension.
Yep.
That's a key part of the song. And again, experimental, but it works so well.
Yeah.
Then
great
we flip
song.
it and Thrill of It All.
Thrill of It All. I go back and forth with Thrill of It All.
Really? Wow.
It's good. It's not. It's, to me, like.
I love this one.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I love, especially about halfway through and that's my story and I'm sticking to it because I got no reason to lie.
Yeah.
That section, I understand why, because it's almost got like a pop metal kind of a thing to it.
Yeah.
So I get why this is almost like Def Leppard territory in a sense.
Yep.
But I'm buying what they're selling. I'm not feeling like they're wandering off the path because it really hammers it right out of the gate and then it kind of takes a left turn. You're on the fence?
It's a great song, but it's not like I'm like, oh my God, Thrill of It All, Yeah. I'm just like, okay.
Well, the next song I think sucks. Super Czar.
Yeah, same.
It's like them playing at being hooded, satanic,
Yeah.
Playing at, I'm not buying it for a second.
Yeah, stick to the original stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like the lawyers got involved on this one and said, you know what would really be good? Now we've really got to sell it.
Yeah. That vocalizing choir thing, that chamber choir, that is just, it's pretty whack. As far as metal goes, that's like a major step in a whack direction.
Yeah.
And what happened was, that's the English chamber choir. They were brought in to perform on the song. And when Ozzy arrived at the studio and saw them, he literally thought he was in the wrong studio and he left.
That's funny. That's awesome.
That song pretty much blows.
Yeah.
What do you think about Am I Going Insane?
Same.
Obviously, this was a single, which is interesting because the parentheses at the end of the title is radio. But the word radio, a lot of people think it was added to the title so that it would be played on the radio. But it's actually, it's Cockney slang for mental.
Got it.
That's actually why it was used, apparently. I like it. Ozzy felt that this song and Super Czar were distractions on what would otherwise be a perfect album. But I don't think it's a bad song. I don't think it's a great song. I think just good enough to be recommendable.
Got it.
It's the only track from Sabotage that's on We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll.
Their greatest hits, yep.
It was released as a single. That's probably the only reason.
They put it on, yeah.
And then another absolute epic, The Writ. At 8 minutes and 45 seconds, talk to me about this lumbering behemoth.
It's good. It is a, long song, whatever, but it wasn't a catcher for me, so.
I think this is a masterpiece.
All right.
I think it's not mentioned half as much as it should be. At about 5 minutes in, when the harpsichords and what sounds like harps to me crash in and Ozzy starts ruminating, it gets me every time and pulls me back into the song. Ozzy wrote the lyrics to this one. And again, with the lawyers, are you Satan? Are you, man?
Yeah, I never got hooked.
Okay, my capsule review here. This time out, Sabbath incorporates its ambitious elements into a well-incorporated, folded-in set. This is a great album. Lots of synths and peripheral touches that fit in the framework organically, not a bunch of bells and whistles tossed in out of boredom. Sabotage has an orchestra. The drugs are on the downward swing, but somehow they're still able to connect the bat with the ball, which is downright impressive. If you've ever done tons of drugs, even over the expanse of one day, just imagine that times years. Under those conditions especially, this is a quasi-masterpiece with just a bit of wobble in its flight. Their last great album until their last album. I'll give this 4.5 stars.
I'll give it 4.5 stars too, but my take on it is that a couple songs on it should have been on previous records, and then the rest should have just been left on the cutting room floor.
So tell me what you would have done. If you could do anything you want to the record, how would you slice it up?
I would have taken Megalomania and System of the Universe and put them out on any other album before that, and then not have recorded the rest.
Just those two?
Just those two.
Wow. Wait a sec. Wait, so you could give it a lower rating. You certainly could. I mean, if you
It
only
was
like
good.
2 songs on it, you
It
could
was
give it.
good. No, I would give it because of where they were in their life, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like albums, even for any band, change because of where the band is in their lives.
Yeah.
And so songs are going to change too. And they're going to try different things and all that. You know, the band was at its point in time that's the way those songs came out. And that's what they put out. And I'm not going to.
In your heart, I feel like it's a 3-star album for you.
3.5.
Is that where you're going? 3.5?
3.5 full album.
Okay.
And those 2 songs I want to kidnap to put on better albums.
That makes sense. A lot of people don't like Sabotage and think that Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is the end of the run. But for me, it tips over into this one.
It tips over for me too because Megalomania is one of my favorite songs. So that's what I'm saying. Like, one of my favorite songs got lost in this other mix where I wish I could have kidnapped it and put it on any other album.
Well, at that point, they release a greatest hits record, which almost always, I should say, comes right before the band goes into the shitter.
Yeah.
The record company really called it because, after We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll came out, we enter phase 3, sliding into total fucking oblivion, 1976 to 79.
Yeah.
So, first of all, they make the first mistake by beginning work for their next album at Criteria Studios in Miami. That's not a good idea. If you're a metal band and you're into darkness and you're recording at
What are you doing in Miami?
Now the sun's shining 24 hours a day. Plus, you're going into the heart of the beast with cocaine. That is not a good idea.
No.
It's during the recording of this record, Ozzy admits he began losing interest in Black Sabbath, and he began to consider the possibility of working with other musicians.
You can feel it.
Recording of this was difficult, but then by the time the album was completed, Ozzy was admitted to Stafford County Asylum in Britain.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was not a good time for these guys. It came out September 25th, 1976, again on Vertigo Records. Again, they're trying to experiment and explore other musical territory, but the kinds of things that they're exploring are very ill-advised. Really not a good idea.
No.
So to give a little bit of context, punk is coming in fast. Okay, punk is in the room at this point. And suddenly Sabbath found themselves totally unsure of the direction they should go in and labeled as has-beens. It's the first time that bands are opening up for them and wiping the stage with them.
Wow.
So that's an issue because like Kiss is opening up for them, Van Halen's opening up for them, these hungry new bands, and Black Sabbath are now dinosaurs. That must be difficult, but also they're recording in Miami, and Tony explained that we recorded the album in Miami and nobody would take responsibility for the production. No one wanted to bring in an outside person for help, and no one wanted the whole band to produce it. So they left it all to me. So they would all be sunning themselves outside. He would be left in the studio.
Yeah.
Geezer said, it's not like now. If you're a heavy metal band, you put out a heavy metal album.
Yeah.
Back then, you had to at least try to be modern and keep up. Punk was massive then, and we felt that our time had come and gone. I love this quote by Peter Watts of Uncut Magazine. He says that Technical Ecstasy is the sound of Tony Iommi being left to his own devices and getting pulled in several different directions at once, believing that he wished to replace heavy metal for hard rock.
Oh, geez.
And so that's where we get the issue is that they're really not great hard rockers.
No.
At this time, Ozzy admitted that he'd begun to consider leaving, and he'd even had a t-shirt made with Blizzard of Oz written on the front.
Whoa.
Yeah. Tony Iommi.
So he already shut the door and was opening the other one.
Yeah. And Tony Iommi was always saying, we've got to sound like Foreigner, or we've got to sound like Queen. Ozzy said, but I thought it was strange that the bands we'd once influenced were now influencing us. Mm-hmm. And also, Ozzy said that he had, at this point, completely lost the plot with booze and drugs.
Yeah.
And was just really going nuts.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the end. Technical Ecstasy. While the band were recording the record, the Eagles were recording Hotel California in an adjacent studio in Criteria. And Geezer said, before we could start recording, we had to scrape all the cocaine out of the mixing board. And I think they left about a pound of cocaine in the board. This is like the one good thing about Technical Ecstasy is that the Eagles were forced to stop recording a bunch of times because Sabbath were too loud and the sound was coming through the wall.
That's funny.
So one good thing came out of these sessions. All right, so let's talk about Technical Ecstasy. Is there anything good about this record? Because I think there is.
There's 2 songs I think that came out of it that I can play. And those 2 songs are You Won't Change Me and Dirty Women.
Okay.
Those 2 songs I can listen to.
That's interesting because even the songs that we connect with, and I don't connect with many, I mean, I basically connect with 2. And by the way, there are people who really do like this record, which is interesting.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, of course.
Which is really interesting because I don't.
That's why there's 31 different flavors at an ice cream shop. You know what I mean?
But I can't picture anybody liking this. I mean, Never Say Die at least has some, to me, interesting stuff going on. I like Never Say Die a little better than this. But the songs I connect with, I think by far the best song on the record is Backstreet Kids.
All right.
I love Backstreet Kids. I think it's the one great song on the record.
Okay.
The only one. I think if it's judged on its own merits, it's actually a really good song. I think the fire is noticeably dampened.
Totally.
It's no less
It's
excellent.
a candle now when it used to be a fire pit.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. So Backstreet Kids, I actually come back to again and again.
Okay.
You Won't Change Me, to me, is the sound of way too much drugs. I think the melody is totally melodramatic.
I just picked those just to say there's songs off the album. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I would never put them on any other of their albums. So
I mean, no, but do you love You Won't Change Me, or it's your favorite thing about this record?
this record,
Okay, okay.
this is all I can take off of this record.
Okay. So
These
you
2
don't.
songs are it off of this record, but I wouldn't put them with any other record.
Also, there's that cover, which is pretty inexplicable. Ozzy once described it as 2 robots screwing on an escalator.
Yeah.
It's a weird album
great.
cover.
That's exactly how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not into You Won't Change Me. It's All Right is the only Sabbath song that's written and sung by Bill Ward.
Okay.
Which I don't mind. I mean, I don't love it. You know, it's a decent song. I love that he got a chance, but it sounds more like Paul McCartney or Badfinger. This is...
Yeah.
It's obviously
Yeah.
not a metal song.
Yeah.
This is among Black Sabbath's most controversial songs because it's the least metal song they ever did.
Yeah.
And then Gypsy, which is so tepid. It sounds like a 38 special deep cut or even like White Lion's Wait. It's bad.
Yeah.
And then you flip the record, all moving parts stand still, totally shitty, totally synthetic hair metalized revamp of the Sweet Leaf melody.
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Doctor is like
I can't
really
stand
bad
it.
Kiss.
I was going to say like Twisted Sister.
Yeah. All right, here's the chorus lyric for Rock and Roll Doctor. Gotta see my rock and roll doctor. Gotta see my rock and roll doctor. Gotta see my rock and roll doctor. I gotta see him today. He's gonna blow me away.
He should have just said, I got to see my drug dealer and he's going to have the blow for me.
Yeah, exactly. So bad. And then
Yeah.
She's Gone is a string-drenched ballad that really
Yeah.
is the opposite end of the barrel from Changes. It's as
Yes.
bad as Changes is good.
Yes.
And Dirty Women, which I can stand Dirty Women.
Yeah,
Dirty
that's what I'm
Women's a
saying.
decent song. It sounds like Rainbow Room style sleaze metal.
Okay.
And to me, it's the second best song on the record.
Yeah.
It's about the hookers they were seeing down in Florida.
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah. All right, so capsule review. Okay, this album is legendary for being a massive step down from the initial 5, and the turn from deep dark metal to generic rump-shaking boogie hard rock was stunning at the time. And if you're listening to the albums in succession, like I did, it's just as stunning today too, that they would choose this avenue to explore as a recording unit. There's only one very good song, in my opinion, one decent song, and a shitload of turds. I'll give it 1.5 stars.
Wow. I'm surprised you even gave it a star.
I mean, it's a great song and 2 good songs, I think.
Yeah. I just like 2 songs off of it. I gave it 1 star just to give it a star. Probably up until lately, I thought he was after Never Say Die. I was like, man, they even came out with something worse than Never Say Die. Till I did my homework and realized. But knowing that those songs I've heard before and heard him play, I would listen to those songs. Just those 2.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, this is, to me, the low point of the band.
It is.
Oh, hi, I'm Dave Gebrow. I threw my career as a licensed hearing instrument specialist in the trash, sold my house, and moved to the East Coast with my wife and 5-year-old son in order to focus on making the ultimate weekly podcast for music obsessives thrive. But weekly wasn't enough for me, so I bumped it up to 4 shows a week. Becoming a subscriber to Discograffiti's Patreon gives you access to hundreds of exclusive episodes. As a 2-show per week private, you get the weekly show by and for our Patreon family, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. As a 3-show-a-week lieutenant, you'll get early release, ad-free, extended director's cuts of the main show. They're the shows as they were intended to be heard. Plus, you'll gain access to half the Patreon archive and the upcoming Beach Boys Behind the Mirror companion episodes, which will feature dozens of special guests from within the Beach Boys camp talking about and rating their music. But as a 4-show-per-week major, you'll be drowning in a flood of must-hear binge listening, because I'll be bombarding you with episodes about super cool bands that are too subterranean for free Fridays. It's like going to music college, but with a tuition that makes all kinds of sense. Plus, our entire Patreon archive is yours. Discograffiti's Top 10, our Buried Treasure show, Rock Cousteau, our Slag Off show, Queasy Listening, and the Private Press with Paul Major. And all that for the price of only a cup of coffee a week. Times are tough, you say? Fret not, because there's a $1 tier. Or you could just join as a basic member and buy episodes piecemeal from our Patreon shop. Don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not giving. Check out patreon.com/discograffiti to find the tier that's right for you. Once again, that's patreon.com/discograffiti. This episode is brought to you in part by Bespoke LA. Located in the Fairfax district of Los Angeles, Bespoke LA is the modern podcaster's dream come true. It's got 2 podcast pods available, one with audio only and the other with both audio and video. Just think, you can start your own podcast tomorrow without investing a single penny in equipment. What, you don't have experience editing? Don't even sweat it. For an additional fee, Bespoke LA can edit your podcast. Or not, it's entirely up to you. Rates start at $75 an hour with discounts if you book 4 sessions at once. Go to bespokela.com/podcast. That's BSPOKELA.com/podcast for more information or to book your time today. And be sure to tell them that Dave sent you for a one-time 25% discount. I don't know if you know about this period, but Ozzy left the band and they had a different vocalist. Did you know about this?
Yeah.
Okay. So in late 77, while they were in rehearsal, after Ozzy had come out of the asylum, Ozzy abruptly quit. And Tony called a vocalist named Dave Walker, a longtime friend of the band who'd previously been a member of Fleetwood Mac and Satellite Brown. Walker came in. At the time, he was fronting a band called Mistress. He flew to Birmingham from California in late 77 to write material and rehearse with Sabbath. On January 8th, 1978, Black Sabbath made their only live performance with Walker on vocals, playing an early version of the song Junior's Eyes on BBC. It was on a show called Look Here. Walker said that he wrote a lot of lyrics during his brief time in the band, but none of them were ever used. So if any recordings of this version of the band, other than the Look Here footage, still exist, Walker says he's not even aware of them.
Wow.
Ozzy initially set out to form a solo project featuring former Dirty Tricks members John Fraser Binney, Terry Horbury, and Andy Byrne. As the new band were in rehearsals in January 78, Ozzy had a change of heart and rejoined the band. 1978, Never Say Die. This is the last album of their first phase. It reached number 12 in the UK, which is amazing. In the US, it peaked at number 69. Even that's amazing. Despite the negative reception, Kim Thale, the Soundgarden guitarist, he said that Never Say Die is one of his favorite Black Sabbath records, which is amazing.
Wow.
So 3 days before they were due to go into the studio with Dave Walker, that's when Ozzy wanted to come back to the band. And what happened, and here's the problem with Never Say Die, no one wanted to talk about what happened. Ozzy just turned up in the studio one day. Bill was trying to act as peacemaker on the phone, and that was the end of it. But it was obvious that things had changed. The vibe was off, especially between Ozzy and Tony. And everyone's heart was just kicked out of their chests. And Ozzy would not sing any of the stuff that they'd written with Dave Walker. Tony said, we went into the studio with basically no songs. One of those songs, Swinging the Chain, was sung by Bill Ward. Ozzy also declined to contribute vocals to Breakout, which stayed an instrumental. You know, honestly, when I was doing research, I was in deep on this record because the circumstances were so fucking crazy that I just kept doing more and more research, knowing I probably wasn't going to use a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because by the time we got here, we'd probably just want to get to 13. But it's interesting just to know that the studio that they recorded this in, not only recording, but writing and rehearsing, was a freezing cinema during the harsh Toronto winter. And then at night, they go record it. So they would write and rehearse a song in the morning and go record that song at night.
Dang.
That's how half-baked the record was.
Yeah.
It's like just being written. There was really no working on it because you couldn't get time to reflect on stuff. So Ozzy initially was talking up the new record and saying it's a combination of what we've all been through in the last 10 years. It's a very varied album. We started playing in blues clubs because British blues like John Mayall and early Fleetwood Mac was the thing at the time, and early 10 years after style stuff. So it's part of that trip. Then there's the heavy thing and the rock thing. It's not just steam hammer headbanging stuff all the way through, and he said, so we put a lot of painstaking hours into developing this album. Yeah. Then after all that thoughtful consideration, after the record was done, he said it was the worst piece of work that I've ever had anything to do with. I'm ashamed of that album. He said it's disgusting. I'd go down to the studio and I'd heard what sounded like a jazz band playing. Is this really Black Sabbath? I'd just fuck off.
Yeah.
The band is dying. Let's talk about if you feel there's anything that makes the album worthwhile.
No.
Nothing at all?
Not from my perspective of it. How about you?
I would say, okay, side one, Never Say Die, totally generic. Not worth talking about. Johnny Blade, totally generic hard rock. Bullshit synth flourishes.
All the songs.
Awful.
Yeah.
Junior's Eyes, more bullshit. Just totally bullshit. And not only that, I can't tell one song from the other at this point.
No, yeah, exactly.
Now, here's the exception for me. To me, there's two great songs on this record. Hard Road is excellent, I think. I've always loved the song. To me, honestly, this would have been the way forward for them if they'd stayed in this template. Hard Road, to me, would have been a thunderous way forward. It's also, by the way, the first and last time Tony Iommi sings backing vocals. It's the second and last single from the record. I've always loved Hard Road. Did that song never hit you? Has that song never?
No, the whole album never hit me. And
then there's one more on the other side. Now, the second side, I started listening to it more and more just to be sure. Shockwave, I think it's halfway okay. It's not a great song, but I think it's a decent song. Air Dance is weird, laughable bullshit, but I think it's entertaining because it sounds like elevator jazz. I honestly have no idea kind of how to feel about it, but it's so what the fuck that I got handed to him to even think of putting this on a Black Sabbath record. Over to You is the other great song on the record. It's amazing to me that they pulled off two, although, of course, I know you don't think so.
I may have to go back and just sit and listen to it.
Listen, it's...
Because we've talked so much that I just need to hear. But as of now, zero.
It's nothing more than a well-written pop song, I think.
Yeah,
it's not a metal song. So you'd have to keep your mind open. But I can tell you that Over to You, I love. And Breakout, it's just nuts. If you play Breakout, for anyone that's unfamiliar with Sabbath, there's a 0% chance that they would guess who was the act responsible for it. Zero. And then Swing in the Chain. This one's about Ozzy. I don't know how, but over the course of me beating my head over and over on this record when I was on vacation, the record went from 1.5 stars to 2 3/4. That's what I give it, is 2 3/4. You give it a 0.
Yeah.
0?
0.
Wow. Okay. Here's my... I love it. I love it. So my capsule review, A Hard Road and Over to You are both certifiably great songs. Super curious to hear what you think about them when you finally listen to them. But they're pop songs. They're not canon-style Black Sabbath songs. And a lot of the rest of the record has honestly grown on me a little over time. I'm kind of vaguely ashamed to say, because I know, look, Technical Ecstasy is bad, but Never Say Die is bad good to me. Some musical decision-making on a what-the-fuck level that keeps my interest a hell of a lot more than its predecessor, especially side 2. From Air Dance on till the end of the record, it truly kept me guessing on where it's coming from and where the hell it's going.
Yeah.
It's not an album I would necessarily recommend, but it's also not as bad as people say, I think, because there's just some batshit crazy material on it. And they're at least going out, having a bit of fun, bitch slapping their image all over the place before they implode.
Yeah.
It's fair to say this is a horribly scattered and unfocused record that sounds like absolute shit. On the plus side, though, somehow that gives it an interesting and unique vibe in their canon of material, 2 3/4 stars. I love the 0. All right, so what happened was they were touring in support of Never Say Die with Van Halen, and Van Halen was wiping the fucking stage with them. The final show of the tour was Ozzy's last appearance with the band until later reunions. That was in Albuquerque, New Mexico on December 11th, 1978. After the tour, Sabbath returned to LA. They again rented a house in Bel Air where they spent nearly a year working on new material for their next album. Did you know this?
Nope.
I didn't know it either. The whole band was going crazy with drugs and alcohol, but Tony says that Ozzy was on a totally different level altogether. The band would come in with new song ideas, but Ozzy showed no interest and would refuse to sing them. Pressure from the record label and frustrations with Ozzy's lack of input came to a head, and Tony made the decision to fire Ozzy in 1979. He said Ozzy had come to an end. We were doing a lot of drugs, a lot of coke, a lot of everything. And Ozzy was getting drunk so much at that time. We were supposed to be rehearsing and nothing was happening. It was like, rehearse today? Nah, we'll do it tomorrow. It really got so bad that we didn't do anything. It just fizzled out. Bill was the one who was sent to break the news to Ozzy on April 27th, 1979. We're just going to touch on the 1998 Reunion album. So Reunion has 2 new songs. One of them is the original 4, and it's the last song by the original 4. Yeah. Psycho Man is the last song with Bill on it. Psycho Man, I think, is a fucking masterpiece.
It's a good one.
I can't believe, I'm just so happy that at least he's on that one, because Selling My Soul is without Bill Ward. That's a drum machine. Mm-hmm. So Psycho Man, I'll give 5 stars to. Selling My Soul, I'll give 2.5 stars.
I'll agree with you.
Yeah?
Yeah, those 2 we can agree.
All right, cool. Yeah, Psycho Man, if you haven't heard it, it's not just a footnote. It's a really great song for them to have gone out on. Yeah. It makes me sad to think about that. That's it. That is absolutely it forever. Now, in the early 2000s, they started sessions with Rick Rubin, but then they kind of fell apart. Yeah. There was a contractual dispute thing that happened with Bill Ward that wound up making him not a part of 13, which really sucks. And that's the point at which I met Bill, was around that time. Okay. And we talked on the phone about that. And it's a bummer that happened, because there's no redo on that.
Did he tell you it was contractual, or did he mention at all that age may have been a point?
Just contractual.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I know. So in his point, it's that. And I've heard from the other guys from different things that it was Bill was older and his timing was beginning to be a little off.
Interesting. Okay.
And that's where they were like, the drummer is what holds the timing, the 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, it's crucial.
And it's very crucial. And that's when everybody's like, oh, okay, makes sense.
How was he at the show?
I felt, and I'm being honest, I felt like they slowed it down. I felt like...
For him?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe for him and Ozzy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, let's slow it down a touch, and it'll keep them both in rhythm. That's what I felt.
Look, these Rick Rubin records where he resuscitates the band's career, they all follow a very strict template, which is he all but locks them into a room with the albums that come from their peak period and tells the artist to listen to them again and again. Reacquaint themselves with what they're great at naturally. Yeah. You can hear that right from the start, end to the beginning. When that kicks off 13, it's like a Christie's catalog of everything that this band does well. Yeah. Look, this thing hangs together. I mean, we start off with kind of a doom metal song. I mean, they're back in it. You can tell they're feeling it. All the best aspects of that first period when they were doing everything.
No, you feel it.
And an 8-minute song. Again, confident. Yeah. Or at least faking it well. End of the beginning, I love. I really love it. And God Is Dead, another great
That one's song. A good one. That's one of my favorite songs on the album.
You love the long ones, and this is 8 minutes, 52 seconds. Yes. As far as original compositions, second only to Megalomania. Yeah. I love the nursery rhyme style sing-song melody. It really sticks with you. And, an 8-minute and a 9-minute song in a row is a good way to plow into the record, I think. Yeah. Loner, not one of my favorites. It's kind of basic, but solid. I mean, look, there's nothing I don't like on the record.
No, exactly.
It's good enough to hold its own with the rest of the tracks. Yep. Zeitgeist, modeled after the lava lamp, bong smoke. Look, I love the bong hit Blacklight special. Nothing wrong with that for me.
Yeah.
Age of Reason, not ferocious, but solid. It's a mid-album cruiser with a creepy, sleazy riff. I like Age of Reason. I don't love it. But then it goes into a flow at the end of the record. The last three songs are three great songs in a row for me: Live Forever, Damaged Soul, and Dear Father.
Yeah, no, those are good ones.
I think they're on fire. The riffs are insane. The heart blowing on Damaged Soul is a great nod of the hat to the first record and, where they came out of. And Dear Father, my favorite thing about this is that it takes Ozzy's love for the Beatles and Ozzy's love for that tritone, or Tony's love for the tritone, the down tuning and the Beatles. That's what Sabbath was, and it blends those two things on a song about pedophilic priests. I mean, what better blending of sources can you get for a song? And then, at the end, you thank Christ. There's the rain, the thunder, and the church bells tolling, and we've come full circle. It's awesome.
Yep.
And then there's some Spotify bonus tracks that are terrific. Two of them especially. Methodemic easily could have taken the place of a couple of tracks on the album proper.
Totally.
I mean, I think it should have. And Pariah should have easily been on the record in place of maybe Loner.
Yeah.
Peace of Mind is the only song that I think isn't great. I think it's solid. But those bonus tracks should be considered part of the record.
Yeah, totally. I think they just did it as like dropping them as singles, but throwing them on Spotify because, during that time was the new way of releasing things and trying to get more people to come back to the album.
Well, my capsule review is this is a great album that very easily could have been good at best or horribly Metallica-like or worse even. And by the way, Metallica-like, I mean latter era.
Yeah.
Or worse even.
When they cut their hair. Metallica haircut days.
Exactly. Metallica with a barber. Or worse even, Donovan-like on the Rick Rubin career redux scale, which is the worst fate because Donovan's the only person that he tried to do this with where nobody paid attention. It is definitely a conscious melding and alchemic fusing of all their various strengths, but thankfully it's also not a tired, warmed over retread. It's not in their top three records, but it sure does beat Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die. Ultimately, it's a very smooth, consistent ride without a single clunker, but also without the crazy high peaks of the early days as well.
Yeah.
I think the best possible way for them to have gone out with style and with a very high quality barometer, I'll give it 4.25 stars.
Oh, nice. I didn't think you were going to go that high. I'll give it 4 stars. And I love that actually Rick Rubin produced it.
Yeah.
Because you can feel that in it and that he did pull that out of them.
Yeah, he did. I think he probably had a lot to do.
If he didn't produce it, it wouldn't be as good as it was.
Yeah, agreed. It seems like if they were just left to their own devices.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't have made this great of an album.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, there's the EP called The End.
Yep.
That's their final release as a band. And it was released January 20th, 2016. The first half of the album is leftover tracks from the 13 sessions, and the second half is live tracks recorded between 2013, 2014.
Yep.
We're only talking about Season of the Dead, Cry All Night, Take Me Home, and Isolated Man. None of those are great as far as I'm concerned. I think they're all solid, nothing beyond solid, but I'm glad that they were released because there's nothing bad about them. It just kind of rides that middle line. What do you think?
Same. I feel the exact same way.
Okay. So for me, it's just great to see them go out on top, but this is just more of the same, just not quite as good. I'll give it 3.5 stars.
Nice. I'll give it 3 because they're not ones I go back to or anything. So I'll give it a 3.
2017, The End live in Birmingham came out, and that featured the Angelic Sessions, which should be noted because it's 5 songs recorded in the days following the band's penultimate show in February 2017. And those tracks marked the band's final studio recordings. Mm-hmm. So it's the Angelic Sessions. They recorded The Wizard, Wicked World, Sweet Leaf, Tomorrow's Dream, and Changes. It's good stuff, but no one's coming here for sustenance in lieu of the original versions. It's a memento of the occasion, and that's all. I'm not going to rate it. And then we had Back to the Beginning. So I always do a real quick piece about the overview and shape of their arc, because for me, the way that I listen to music, because this is how I listen to music, period, is if it's an artist I'm not even covering on the show, I'll listen to everything they did in sequential order to get an idea of how the full arc of their career looks. They don't even know that because they're in it. So here's what I got from Black Sabbath. Drugs play their part in the stories of many bands, but almost never as front and center as the role we see him play in this sordid tale, one of the greatest in rock and roll history, a lottery-winning, opportunity-squandering fable that takes us from the belching smokestacks and grayed-out skies of Birmingham factory life to the loftiest perches of high society. Pure, uncut Bolivian, top-shelf everything. But that wasn't enough, because it never is. It's never enough. And so the vagaries of true, untempered hedonism curtailed and helped design a fabulous arc for a fabulous band, seeing as everything, every last thing, works out exactly as it's supposed to. Rest in peace to one of the all-time great frontmen in music history. So here's my top 3 records. Number 3 is Paranoid. Number 2 is Master of Reality. Number 1 is Volume 4, and their worst album is Technical Ecstasy. What do you think? What's your top 3?
My top 3, and by the way, that was a great closer, but my top 3 are Master of Reality, Paranoid, and Black Sabbath.
Nice. Wait,
self-titled.
Which one's number 1?
I'm going to go with Master of Reality.
Okay.
Because it was my first one I ever received, so it opened the door for me.
That's a great number 1. And so, Do you know what comes number 2?
Paranoid, and then Black Sabbath self-titled.
That's awesome. I love that you have the self-titled in your top 3.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And it's also astounding to me that you're going to have Volume 4 in the top 3. That is astounding. To me, I live and die by that.
But my top 5, I don't put in any order.
Right.
So there you go.
Well, look, this has been 3.5 hours now. Is there anything in the future with Jackass, or is that temporary?
Nothing at the moment. At the moment, like 0.
I just want you to know I've seen every single one in the theater. That was
nice.
In the theater, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And, it's funny. The day after Mason met you, I showed him a bunch of clips of you doing Jackass stuff.
Yep.
And he really couldn't believe his eyes, because you are such a nice guy and such a sweetheart. You were a genuinely nice human being. We're family. I mean, Jose.
Jose, yeah.
He's one of your best friends, and Jose is Maddie's dad. I've been close to him ever since Jen and I became a couple. So I've always considered him a family member, and I love the guy. But what I'm trying to convey to you is, while some of the guys involved with Jackass have total lunacy baked into their DNA, that's a part of what you do.
Yeah.
And I really love that about you.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Billy Barty would be very fucking proud.
Yeah, he would.
He would. Yeah.
Totally. He's looking down at me going, all right, attaboy.
All right, man.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
And say hello to Mason again for me.
All right. That about does it. Stay tuned, because next week we've got part 5 of our Pet Sounds deep dive. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is another Chuck Chat from the Chuck Granada Pet Sounds interview series, this one with Don Randy, Brian Wilson's beloved Wrecking Crew pianist, not to mention Nancy Sinatra's too. Chances are, if you've fallen in love with the piano work in a song from the 60s or 70s, it's Don. Good Vibrations, ABC, He's a Rebel, It's My Party, A Little Less Conversation, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin', Something Stupid, I Got You Babe, Different Drum, the list goes on and on. Don is nothing short of a national treasure. There will be a very short sneak peek running publicly for free on Monday morning, but the entirety of the show will only be accessible on the major tier of our Patreon. Don't miss it, or you'll only be getting part of the story. And then on Wednesday, the Lieutenant tier gets their early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of Part 5 of the Pet Sounds Deep Dive. It's the episode as it was truly intended to be heard, with all the essentials left intact. And then come Friday, everyone else gets to join in on the action. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Jason Weeman Acuna, Richard Holland, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, Bespoke LA, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator, and much, much more. So don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into face-melting hard rock and metal is to leap headfirst into Tom Morello Rates the MC5, that's episode 177, Mike Watt rating the Minutemen, that's 124 to 126, Testament's Alex Skolnick, that's 122 to 123, Mogwai's Stuart Braithwaite rates Joy Division, that's 203 and 204. No Age's Randy Randall on the Jesus Lizard, that's 70 and 71. Jim Florentine on the entirety of the Black Sabbath catalog, that's 64 to 68. Bob Nastanovich rates the Pavement catalog, that's 49 to 58. The Pixies, that's 18. Nirvana is episode 30. PJ Harvey is episode 12. Bob Mayer rates The Replacements, that's 28 and 29. Bully's Alicia Bagnano is 96 and 97. And Van Halen is episode 9. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, October 3rd, we're coming at you with part 5 of our Pet Sounds Deep Dive. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!